But only one place to start really is at the Etihad between Manchester City and Chelsea in the FA Cup. We'll talk about all the rest, of course, after. But we have to start and first praise the winners. Of course, Manchester City 4-0 winners. Pretty easy in the end.
Cruised to victory, didn't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely cruised to it. They are flying. I don't think they're playing as well as what they did probably 18 months ago, but they're efficient. But I think the big story, Jules, is how poor Chelsea were.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's incredible, the turnaround and the drop-off.
I was there for ESPN. We have, obviously, the coverage. And I saw the lineups, the two lineups. So, De Bruyne on the bench, Haaland on the bench, Gundogan on the bench, Stones on the bench. Like, you go through Cancelo on the bench. You go like, the bench for City was obscene.
Yeah.
But you think, okay, well, you know, Chelsea can come here. Everton took a point in the league. Yeah. Brentford won before the World Cup in a very similar style of play. Maybe for Chelsea,
there's a sniff.
Yeah,
but you think when you see the lineups,
there was just nothing in the performance done.
No
desire. No, they were not aggressive. There was no fighting. There was just no structure on the ball, off the ball. They didn't touch the ball in the City box in the whole first half. Not even a touch, not a flick in the box, nothing.
See, this is my gripe when I listen to radio stations and I listen to people say Chelsea need a striker. Chelsea need a striker, and I'm going, they've had strikers. They're a possession-based side. If you can't make Lukaku work and you can't make Aubameyang work, strikers are probably making runs thinking, you're just keeping the ball from side to side. The patterns of play are slow. They're predictable. You're going side to side. There's nothing really happening. Forwards are thinking, I can't get any touches of the ball. I think more so, I think it's the drop-off in, I think, the culture at the football club where 2010, you had people like Essien and Ballack and Terry, and the list goes on and on and on, Peter Cech, and they were a hard team, a ruthless team to play against. I think if you're a team now facing Chelsea, you can't wait to play against them. There's a soft underbelly. Yeah. They're a soft team.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, Kai Havertz, I'll give him a little bit more time because he's not a number 9, he's a number 10. But people like Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Aubameyang, weak. Players that are only interested when they've got the ball at their feet, not closing down. So the whole culture and the whole style at Chelsea is so far beyond what they used to be 10 years ago or 12 years ago.
Being there yesterday, and before I was okay with Potter giving you a bit more time. Yesterday, for the first time done, I thought, okay, the guy's out of his depth now.
Was it a little bit toxic?
It was toxic with the fans, and we mentioned it when we prepared the show. Yeah. That they sang Abramovich's name, they sang Tuchel's name.
That doesn't help.
When Chelsea had a shot in the second half, or Mario Hutchison, one of the young kids, had a off-target attempt. They started saying, "We had a shot. We had a shot." I was like, "Oh my God!"
That's when you know. You know when it's toxic inside of a ground, that's bad enough. But when it starts turning to humour, that's the sort of worst part because fans are just thinking like, "We are terrible. The only thing we can do now is take the mickey out of ourselves."
Exactly.
That's
exactly what they did.
And I'm gutted because I was one of them that said about the Graham Potter appointment, good. I'm glad that he's got a chance.
Me too.
He deserves the chance.
Me too.
But I expected so much more.
But do you think that maybe then the jump between Brighton and Chelsea, like the jumps for Moyes between Everton and United or for others, was just too big?
Could be. Sometimes the jump can be too big. I would say that he looks like an intelligent guy to me and looks like a guy that can handle players. I'm not seeing it on the pitch. I mean, what we would say and we have to stress is they've got so many injuries. That doesn't help Graham Potter.
That's true.
But then still, you flip the coin and you go, well, this is the same squad that Thomas Tuchel won the Champions League with. So he was getting a tune out of his players because they were hard to beat. They pressed from the front. Firstly, Thomas Tuchel done was saying, right, I'm going to build a team that no one wants to play against. Then all of a sudden the fans are on board with that, going, yeah, that's us. We're nasty. We'll be Chelsea. We'll be hard to beat. We'll be horrible. And then you get all the clean sheets along the way. Graham Potter comes in. I don't know what their style is, apart from being nice, being pretty. Yeah. But that was Brighton's way. That was Brighton's way. That's not Chelsea's way. Chelsea have been ruthless for years. But managers have been sacked within 6 months for not getting results.
But that's what I mean in the sense that he could be out of his depth because I don't see the fighting in him. I don't see the ego to succeed at clubs like that. And if you go down the list, I mean, okay, Carlo is the exception maybe because Carlo is so nice. Yeah. But all the others, you have to have that edge within you. Have that ego. Yeah. And be ruthless yourself. Potter is not ruthless.
I always, it's only my opinion, I always think that players play better when they've got a manager that's got authority. So look at Man United. Shambles with Ralph Rangnick. All of a sudden, a proper manager comes in. A ruthless manager that won the chess battle with Ronaldo. fined Marcus Rashford or dropped him last week for a game because he slept in.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But he wins battles, and then the younger players in that dressing room thinking, he's the guy for him. We can't mess around. I'm not so sure that's the culture at Chelsea. And I'm worried for Graham Potter because it's an experienced dressing room with quite a lot of power.
Yeah.
And the first thing he's got to do, which what harmed Jody Morris and Frank Lampard. Once you get on the wrong side of some individuals in that dressing room, they can take the power away from the manager.
So let's continue the chat about Chelsea and Potter, Don, because it's fascinating because you think, okay, everybody's saying like, okay, the pressure is mounting now, which is true. How long will he get? How much more time will they give him? One, we don't know because they're new owners, Burley and Egbali, and they've never been in this position. They've never owned a football club like that before. It's a very different mindset to a US sport franchise. But there will be a point where their club, where they spend already £250 million in the summer, can't get humiliated like this week in and week out. So you go to
mile away from the top four.
Yeah, and you go to Forest and you're dreadful and you only get a point. Yeah. That's a humiliation in itself.
Yes.
You lose to City at Stamford Bridge in the league 1-0, where you kind of made them.
They were okay for 45.
Okay, maybe, but this is like, you can't have another one like that. So they go to Fulham on Thursday in the Premier League.
Yes.
And then it's Liverpool away at the weekend. I think something like that. Or maybe Liverpool is the game after. But there's
Fulham's the one. Fulham's the immediate game, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they
lose that derby.
I mean, massive pressure. And that's the thing with the culture when Abramovich was the owner, by this point in time, he would probably have made a decision on Graham Potter. He probably would have 15 games in. It's not working. I need to make a change. We're sitting in 10th, dumped out the competitions. We need to see a change. I'm going to be ruthless. I made the appointment. I got it wrong. Let's do it. It's going to cost me money, but so be it, because I want Chelsea to do well and I want what's best for the football club. With the new owners and the model that they've got, which is absolutely commendable and fine, they don't want to be a sacking culture. They don't want to have a sacking culture at the club. So they're going to try and give Graham Potter time, which I think's sitting here right now, I think it's the right thing to do. But how long can that go on for when Chelsea fans are, as I said, they're sitting in 10th. They're nowhere near winning the Premier League. They're out the cup competitions. They're not even close to getting into the top four.
Yeah, that's the thing as well.
That's the thing. So there's so many variables. You're thinking the owners at some point have got a big decision to make.
Yeah, definitely. And so they play Fulham and then Palace at home, on the Sunday.
So two big. I mean, you've got to win them two games. Chelsea Football Club.
And then there will be Liverpool.
Chelsea Football Club have to be beaten Fulham and Palace.
Yes, exactly.
That's where they're at. That's where the club's been at for 20 odd years.
This is a Chelsea team with, I think, 7 defeats in the last 9 or something crazy like that, competitions. And where I was yesterday, his team selection. So you would have said one of the players that did the best against City in the league on Thursday was Carney Chukwuemeka.
Yeah, done really
Young
well.
players, but hit the post. And you could see when he came on, there was something about him. You bench him?
Yeah.
Really? You bench him 4 days later?
One of the players that made an impact.
I could not, I promise you, Don. I saw the lineup, and as we mentioned before, City with a B team and Chelsea with a lot of injuries, so also a B team for them. But why not using the kind of little positives that you had from that league defeats at home in a game like this?
I mean, you understand it if it's Thiago Silva, who's 38, and he can't play a couple of games inside 4 or 5 days. That's understandable. But a young player, you're chomping at the bit to play. And Chukwuemeka, who'd done really well in the City game previous, he'd have been banging on the door thinking, well, he wouldn't have been banging on the door because he's thinking, I'm starting the next game against City. I played that well, I'm going to be starting.
Exactly. What kind of message do you even send to him and to the rest of the dressing room?
That's it. Even the experienced players who are sitting on the treatment table are having conversations, because that's how we work.
Yeah.
Footballers can be nightmares at times. When you're not fit and you're not playing, you're out the side, you don't fancy the manager, we can be a nightmare. We can moan, we can groan. But young players have got the appetite to want to play. And he would have been probably first name on the team sheet because he'd done so well, and he's got the personality and he's got the legs and the energy. Conor Gallagher came on in the first game. He ran around like a headless chicken. Put some tackles in and the crowd fed off him. Yeah. That's basic stuff.
Yeah. Conor Gallagher, by the way, who played right wing back after the break because they went to a back 5. And then
weird.
It's so many things. But even still, I thought, okay, the lineup is not what I would have gone for if I was the Chelsea manager. Let's see the tactics. And then they played a high line. And But the problem, as you know, Highland, I've got no problem as long as you press the
Press
ball.
on the ball, yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the basic in football. You can only have a high line.
So I don't know if you remember the Cole Palmer chance and 0-0 still in the first half. But Laporte has all the time in the world to just pick the pass over for Palmer to run in behind, and then he should cross the ball for Alvarez, and it was a tap in.
There's the warning sign.
And you just think like, what are you doing? But off the ball, Chelsea were dreadful. One of the worst I've seen from one of the top teams.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Don, okay, what are they working on at training?
What are they doing?
If off the ball you can't even do the basics right, what are they doing? Or maybe the players don't believe anymore. Or have they ever believed in it?
It might be all of the above. It might be everything that you've just said. But the basics are, when you're pressing a team, is to try and get the distances correct. So that's where you have the high line. Then the midfield players, all the distances are shorter for them to close down. So not sprinting 30, 40 yards. Then the front men have got 10 yards to press. And then you go and use the energy of the players on the pitch, the crowd, and everyone gets up for it. But to try and play a high line with no pressure on the ball, it's suicidal.
It's completely crazy.
It's the worst thing you can do as a coach, a manager, or a player on the pitch. It's a nightmare because a team like City will just spot it. They'll problem solve within 5-10 minutes and go, okay, you're playing a high line, no pressure, balls over the top then. Easy. Until then you go deep, and then all of a sudden they've got all the joy in midfield and out wide.
Which they did. And then obviously the first goal happens because that structure of the ball that we mentioned, they get done the ball to Alvarez, to Mahrez, it's a foul. The free kick is amazing, but still, the penalty, I mean, I don't know what Kai Havertz is doing. And then the third goal...
You can't legislate for that.
No. And then the third goal, Gallagher is just not intelligent enough, I think, for me to see what Jorginho is doing and how he's covering the half space. And then the ball goes from left to right and it's too late. And you're thinking
do you think it's like a mismatch of different players and different managers and obviously a treatment table that's full at the moment, so you haven't got the experience and the wisdom and the know-how, and you're mixing it all, but there's no plan, there's no structure, there's no pattern.
But then we go back to, why did you not sack Tuchel in the summer, got Potter in the summer while the transfer window was open before the season started, instead of waiting those like 100 days of let's see what's happening, and then we don't dig him, so let's sack him, because then you could have got players that are more suited to Potter, or players even that Potter likes or wants or whatever. Instead, like now, he's in with a squad where there's clearly players that he doesn't want to.
And the trouble now for a manager like Graham Potter, when he's sitting there with his coaching staff and the analysis, when they're looking at everything, they're probably thinking, we could do with letting about 6 or 7 first-team players go. They're not good enough. It's not what I want. You can't do it, Jules. It's impossible.
No,
you can't because you're sitting in 10th.
Yeah, exactly.
You need them. You need replacements before you move those players on. He hasn't got time for that.
And if you look at Arteta, it took him 18 months to take the whole overall of his squad. So I think right now there's only 3 players who were there when he took over, or 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But Chelsea don't have the time. Don't have 18 months.
He hasn't got the time.
And he, even less, he doesn't have the time. I just don't know where they go. Aubameyang, I guess, is epitomizing. Is that what you say? Something like that?
Yeah.
The whole issue is because he was not even on the bench on Sunday. Not because he was injured, but clearly because he was dropped by Potter. After Potter brought him on and then took him off after an hour against City in the league.
Didn't do a thing.
Like, I mean, even that is an embarrassment for Chelsea.
The culture there, Jules, it's weak. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you can mention the John Terrys and the Peter Cechs and the Balaks and the Lampards and Drogbas, and the list goes on and on and on.
Characters.
And now, but personalities to say, like, listen, we're in a bad moment. We're not playing well, but what we will do is we'll fight and we'll graft and we'll make sure at the back we keep a clean sheet and we'll work from there. And if it's a 0-0, it's a 0-0. We're not going to get spanked and we're not going to be open. I look at a Chelsea side now, and I think it was not just under Graham Potter, to be fair. It was happening under Thomas Tuchel. That's why I got the sack. Where the culture now is a little bit like, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to try and play football like Man City. And we're not going to press, though, the way Man City do. And the individuals there, I don't think, are suited to being the way Abramovich and Chelsea fans have seen over the last decade or so. You know, Christian Pulisic, all these players are talented players, don't get me wrong. They're talented players because they play for their countries and they play for Chelsea. They play in the Premier League, they're talented. But off the ball, Christian Pulisic, weak. Aubameyang, off the ball, weak. Ziyech started the World Cup, off the ball, weak. You can't carry players.
And I think there's a lack of leadership as well, Don.
I mean, I would say the one leader, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the one leader that they've got is Thiago Silva.
But Thiago Silva is a technical leader, and he's
by example.
Yeah, but that's all. He's not the one.
So where's the leaders?
There's none.
Koulibaly's come in, and I watched a lot of him at Napoli.
Yeah.
I know he's not. I know he's not a leader in terms
but I see
of
what you
pulling
mean.
people around him, but he's a giant.
But no, but you must think right now is like, what have I done by coming here?
And Napoli could win the league.
Yeah, but which gets me to the point, like, okay, if you're Enzo Fernandez now, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're, I don't know, another player that Chelsea,
Let's say Declan Rice.
yeah. Would you go to Chelsea, really?
Not
With the
now.
uncertainty over the future of the manager, because we don't know, where half of that squad could be gone,
Yep.
where you might not have Champions League football for a bit of time now.
Yeah.
And suddenly that's not appealing, surely, to a player of the level and the talent of Declan Rice or Enzo Fernandez or whoever else.
Bellingham
they
or
want.
whoever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's players do their homework, and players follow all the teams across Europe, and they follow them closely. And if you're analysing the move to Chelsea, the size of the contract's one thing.
Yeah.
So that can sway you into thinking, oh, that yeah, I fancy that. You know, salary might triple, whatever. So that's I'm financially secure. But where am I playing? Playing for a team that's sitting in 10th.
Yeah.
Well, I'm better than that. If you're Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
No,
the list goes on. So the knock-on effect from where Chelsea are sitting in the league with the poor form and the 8 defeats in 9, whatever it is a team that's getting nowhere near Champions League football.
Yeah.
So they've got to make sure they turn it around in a hurry. Otherwise, Graham Potter's not going to be there at the end of the season. So that it could spiral into getting worse before it gets better.
Yeah. No, I mean, we heard Pep Guardiola at the end, like saying, "Oh, I would tell Todd Boehly to give him."
But he always says the right thing.
Yeah, and Pep would not say like, "Yeah, sack him now. He's rubbish." You know? So like.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.